Guys, this is Rosie Random Shorts.
What's the worst thing I ever taught my 9-year-old son? Sarcasm. Pure, weaponized sarcasm. I thought I was teaching him confidence. Turns out, I accidentally created a tiny, emotionally unstable stand-up comedian with absolutely no respect for grown people's feelings. It started when my landlord came over to fix our kitchen sink for the 4th time in 2 months. The man tightened one screw, flooded half the cabinet, then stood there smiling, like he just saved humanity. Under my breath, I muttered, "Wow, what a professional." My son Ethan looked up from his cereal. "What does that mean?" I said, "When adults say something super nice with that voice, they usually mean the opposite." That right there was my villain origin story. Because after that, Ethan started treating fake people like unpaid comedy material. The next morning during school drop-off, one mom in a giant SUV started yelling at the crossing guard because she had to wait maybe 20 seconds. Ethan watched her speed away and whispered, "Wow, she seems calm and spiritually balanced." I almost drove straight into a mailbox laughing. Then came parent-teacher night. His teacher, Mrs. Harper, sat me down with the exhausted expression of a woman reconsidering her career choices. She smiled tightly and said, "Ethan is very observant." Immediately, I knew somebody's feelings got destroyed. I asked, "What happened?" Mrs. Harper sighed. "We were discussing honesty in class, and one student said his dad never lies." I nodded slowly. She continued, "Ethan raised his hand and said, 'That's actually kind of adorable.'" I covered my face instantly. Mrs. Harper said, "Then he asked if the boy's father also says I'm 5 minutes away while still wearing a towel." I swear I almost evaporated from embarrassment. But the real disaster happened at my cousin Lauren's engagement dinner. Lauren's fiance, Tyler, was one of those motivational podcast men. Too many bracelets, teeth too white, the kind of guy who says things like grind mindset while borrowing money from relatives. The second Tyler walked in, Ethan looked at him the same way airport dogs look at suspicious luggage. Tyler sat next to him and smiled. "Hey, little man, want to hear about my business?" Ethan shrugged politely. Then Tyler started rambling about crypto, passive income, and escaping the system. Every sentence sounded like it came with a free lawsuit. The whole table nodded like any of this made sense. Then Ethan took a sip of Sprite and asked, "So do you have a real job or just a microphone and confidence?" Lauren choked on her drink. Tyler laughed way too hard. "This kid's funny." Ethan smiled sweetly. "Thanks. My mom says people laugh extra hard when they're nervous." I kicked him under the table so fast my shoe nearly flew off. He looked at me and whispered, "Worth it." Tyler kept talking. "Most people are afraid of success." Ethan nodded seriously. "And banks are afraid of giving you loans." My aunt folded her napkin over her mouth because she was trying not to scream laughing. Then Tyler pulled out his phone to show everyone his investment portfolio. Ethan leaned over and squinted at the screen. "Why are all the numbers red? Is your money bleeding?" The entire table went dead silent. Tyler's jaw tightened. "It's temporary." Ethan nodded slowly. "That's what people say before Netflix releases a documentary." I nearly passed away. Then Lauren quietly reached for Tyler's phone, and the man reacted way too fast. Ethan immediately whispered, "Uh-oh, the raccoon just protected the trash can." Lauren unlocked the phone while Tyler panicked beside her. 3 dating app notifications popped up instantly. Nobody breathed. Tyler stood up. "Why is everyone listening to a child?" Ethan shrugged and grabbed another breadstick. "Because adults ignore warning signs when the liar is attractive." Lauren's face completely cracked. Tyler looked at me like this was somehow my fault. Before I could speak, my grandmother, 83 years old and fueled entirely by judgment, slowly lifted her iced tea and said, "That little boy didn't ruin dinner." She pointed directly at Tyler. He just translated the bullshit. That's the worst thing I ever taught I thought my best friend was just being nice. Then I found out she'd been saving every voice message I'd ever sent her. Turns out, I was completely wrong. Every morning at exactly 6:32 a.m., my phone buzzed. Not 6:31, not 6:33, 6:32, without fail. It was always a voice message from Ava. "Good morning, sunshine. Don't skip breakfast." The first time she sent one, I laughed. The 20th time, I started looking forward to it. By the 100th time, it was the first thing I checked every morning. I never told anyone that, especially not Ava. We'd been best friends since sophomore year. Everyone thought we were dating. We weren't. At least, that's what I kept telling people. And myself. The problem was that I couldn't stop noticing things. The way she'd steal my hoodie and then pretend it was an accident. The way she'd automatically reach for my hand whenever we crossed busy streets. The way she'd remember tiny details about me that even my own parents forgot, like how I hated grape-flavored medicine, or how thunderstorms made me anxious, or that I secretly loved old black and white movies. One Friday night, a huge storm knocked out power across half the town. I was home alone. My parents were visiting relatives. The lights went out around 10 p.m. 10 minutes later, someone started knocking on my front door. I nearly screamed. Then I heard Ava's voice. "Open up." I brought emergency snacks. She'd driven across town during a thunderstorm because she knew I'd be scared. We spent the entire night sitting on the living room floor eating popcorn by flashlight. At one point, she fell asleep with her head on my shoulder. I didn't move for 3 hours. My arm felt like it was dying. I didn't care. I just sat there listening to her breathe. That's when I realized I was in trouble. Real trouble. Because best friends weren't supposed to make your heart race like that. A few weeks later, Ava started dating a girl from her soccer team. Her name was Chloe. She was gorgeous, confident, funny, basically everything I wasn't. I smiled and told Ava I was happy for her. Then I went home and cried in my bathroom for an hour. For the next 3 months, I became an expert at pretending. Pretending I didn't care. Pretending I wasn't jealous. Pretending I wasn't counting how many times Ava mentioned Chloe during our conversations. Then came spring break. Ava and Chloe went on a beach trip together. I figured I'd finally get some space. Maybe get over whatever weird feelings I had. Instead, Ava kept sending me photos. Pictures of sunsets. Pictures of random dogs. Pictures of seashells. Every single one with the same caption. "This made me think of you." By the end of the week, I felt worse than ever. The final straw came at prom. I showed up alone. Ava arrived with Chloe. They looked perfect together. I spent most of the night hiding near the snack table pretending to care about mini cupcakes. Around 10 p.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I slipped outside. I was sitting on a bench behind the venue trying not to cry when the door opened. Ava walked out, alone. "You disappeared." I shrugged. She sat beside me. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then she sighed. "Chloe and I broke up." I blinked. "What?" "Yesterday." I didn't know what to say. She looked nervous. Actually nervous. I'd never seen Ava nervous. Then she pulled out her phone. "Can I show you something?" Before I could answer, she opened a folder. Voice messages. Hundreds of them. My voice messages. Every stupid rant, every random joke, every late night panic attack, every message I'd ever sent her. Saved. Organized by date. I stared at the screen. What is this? Ava laughed softly. You know how your phone tells you how many files are in a folder? I nodded. She turned the screen toward me. 642. I've listened to some of them more than 20 times. My heart stopped. Ava. She looked down at her hands. I think I fell in love with you a long time ago. The world went completely silent. No music, no people, nothing. Just my heartbeat. I tried dating other people, she continued. I kept thinking eventually I'd get over you. She smiled sadly. Didn't work. I couldn't breathe. She glanced up. If you don't feel the same way, I'll survive. But I really hope you do. I like Shin. I started crying. Actual ugly crying. Mascara everywhere. The whole disaster. Ava immediately panicked. Oh my god. That's bad crying, isn't it? I laughed through the tears. Then I kissed her. Right there behind the prom venue. Under the worst fluorescent parking lot lights imaginable. When we finally pulled apart, Ava looked completely stunned. So, she smiled. My phone buzzed later that night. 12 a.m. A message from Ava. Not a voice note this time. Just 3 words. Good night, girlfriend. I still have a screenshot of it. And yes, she saved that one too. I thought my best friend.
So what's your favorite, huh?
The popular guys ranked every girl in school like a dating app, so I exposed everything they didn't want anyone knowing. I found out about the ranking video because my little brother texted me, please don't watch this. Of course, I watched it anyway. It was a TikTok slideshow made by the most popular guys at our school. Every girl in junior year ranked from wife material to avoid at all costs. They used yearbook photos, Instagram pictures, even candid shots from lunch. Some girls got mocked for acne, some for being flat. One girl got labeled future cat lady. Me? Pretty face. Talks too much. Probably crazy. The video already had like 40K views because kids from nearby schools were reposting it. Guys in the comments were rating us like products on Amazon. I literally sat on my bed staring at my phone feeling sick. School the next morning felt completely different. Girls who were normally loud and confident walked through the halls with hoodies over their faces. One girl cried in the bathroom because someone edited her ranking onto her locker picture. Another skipped cheer practice after boys started mooing when she walked by. But the worst part was how funny the guys thought it was, especially Chase Holloway, quarterback, rich parents, perfect smile, the type of guy teachers defend no matter what he does. I heard him laughing in the cafeteria with his friends saying, bro, some of them actually got offended. One of his friends replied, they should be grateful we even included them. Nobody did anything. Teachers ignored it. The principal sent 1-week email about digital citizenship, and the video stayed up. Then my best friend Ava stopped coming to school. Ava was genuinely one of the nicest people I knew. Straight A student, soccer player, never talked badly about anybody. The boys ranked her near the bottom and wrote, looks permanently tired and built like a substitute teacher. 3 days later, she texted me, I don't want to walk through those halls anymore. That was the moment I stopped caring about being the bigger person. That Friday night, I made a fake TikTok account and posted a video called Things Popular Boys Think Girls Don't Notice. At first, I didn't name anyone directly, just facts. Half the football team uses mommy's credit card to impress girls. One of y'all got veneers at 17 and now talks with a permanent whistle. Somebody wears a baseball cap every day because his hairline already filed for divorce. The video exploded overnight. Girls started flooding the comments with stories about guys begging for homework answers, about cheating, about fake designer clothes, about how some of the top-ranked boys smelled like Axe body spray and wet socks. By Monday morning, the popular guys were freaking out, especially Chase. Someone posted side-by-side photos of him from freshman year before puberty saved him. Another girl leaked screenshots of him DMing her you up after publicly calling her a 4. The internet turned on them fast. At lunch, Chase came storming over to my table looking furious. You started this? I looked up from my fries. Started what? This hate campaign. Hate campaign? I repeated. I thought it was just jokes. Isn't that what you said about the ranking video? His face instantly changed. This is different. Half the cafeteria went quiet watching us. I stood up slowly and said, different because now it's happening to you? Nobody said a word. You ranked girls based on bodies, faces, and whether you'd hook up with them. You humiliated people for fun. I told him. Ava hasn't been here in a week because of you. Chase rolled his eyes and said, she's being dramatic. That's when I pulled out my phone and played a recording from lunch earlier that week. His voice, loud and clear. If girls can't handle honesty, that's their problem. The cafeteria went dead silent. Even one of his teammates muttered, dude. Chase looked around for backup, but nobody moved. Not one person. By 6th period, the original ranking video was deleted. By the end of the week, every guy involved got called into the principal's office and had to apologize publicly during an assembly. Most of them looked like they wanted the floor to swallow them whole. Chase tried acting unbothered after that, but people saw him differently. Turns out confidence disappears really fast when people stop worshiping you. Ava came back 2 weeks later. When she walked into the cafeteria, the entire girls' soccer team started clapping for her. And for the first time all year, the popular boys were the quietest people in the room. Popular guys ranked every girl in school like a dating app, so I exposed everything they didn't want anyone knowing. I found my sister cut me off over one lie, and my whole family took her side. I used to think my older sister was the closest person I'd ever have in my life. Her name is Rachel, and growing up, I practically worshipped her. She was 4 years older than me. Popular, confident, beautiful, the kind of girl everyone listened to the second she walked into a room. And me? I was the quiet little sister, always following behind her, carrying her dance bag, borrowing her clothes when she allowed it, defending her no matter what. If Rachel needed a ride at 2 a.m. after a breakup, I went. If she wanted me to lie to our parents for her, I did. If she insulted me in front of friends as a joke, I laughed anyway, because that's what little sisters do, right? At least, that's what I believed. When I was 17, Rachel got engaged to this guy named Tyler. My entire family acted like it was a royal wedding. My mom cried every time she talked about it. My dad paid for basically everything. And Rachel loved every second of being the center of attention. Back then, I was still trying to earn her approval like some pathetic intern working overtime for free. One night, Rachel asked if she could store some wedding gifts at my apartment because her place was too crowded. Of course I said yes. I would have said yes to anything she asked me back then. A week later, one of the gift envelopes disappeared. There was supposed to be over $2,000 in cash inside. I didn't even know the envelope existed until Rachel called me screaming. Not upset, screaming. She accused me immediately. I remember standing in my kitchen holding my phone away from my ear while she yelled, I knew I shouldn't have trusted you. That sentence honestly hurt more than the accusation. I kept telling her I didn't take anything. I even offered to help look for it. But by the time I got to my parents' house that night, the damage was already done. Everyone looked at me differently. My mom wouldn't make eye contact. My dad asked me if I was going through financial problems. My aunt literally pulled me aside and told me that if I returned the money quietly, Rachel probably wouldn't press charges. Press charges against me. I felt sick. But the worst part, Rachel stood there, letting everyone think I stole from her. The sister I defended my entire life didn't defend me for even 5 seconds. After that night, she stopped speaking to me completely, blocked my number, removed me from the wedding party, told relatives I was unstable, even posted some vague Instagram quote about betrayal and family family snakes, and my family ate it up. For almost a year, nobody asked how I felt. Nobody cared that I cried myself to sleep, wondering how one accusation destroyed my entire relationship with my sister. Then the truth came out completely by accident. Tyler confessed during one of their arguments that he had taken the envelope months earlier because he had gambling debt and planned to replace the money before Rachel noticed. He never did. Rachel found out after they were already married. You'd think that would have fixed everything, right? Nope. Because suddenly everyone wanted to move on like nothing happened. My mom told me, Rachel feels terrible. My dad said, families shouldn't hold grudges. Rachel herself sent me this cold little text saying, mistakes were made on both sides. Both sides. Like I was somehow equally responsible for being falsely accused and abandoned. I didn't answer. That was 2 years ago. We still don't speak. And honestly, sometimes I miss the version of my sister I thought existed. But then I remember something painful. The people who truly love you don't need perfect evidence to treat you with basic loyalty. One misunderstanding didn't destroy our relationship. It just revealed what it actually was the entire time. My parents sold my future for a rich husband, but they had no idea what he was really like. I grew up in a family where money was everything. Not love, not trust, not happiness, just money. My parents were obsessed with looking rich even when we weren't. My mom spent hours scrolling through Instagram, jealous of women with designer bags and giant houses in the suburbs. My dad constantly talked about networking and marrying into wealth like life was some business deal. So when they met Daniel Mercer at a charity gala, they practically lost their minds. Daniel was 31, came from old money, drove a black Bentley, and wore watches that cost more than my college tuition. My parents acted like he was royalty. The problem? I hated him immediately. The first time we had dinner together, he didn't even look at me when I spoke. He interrupted waitresses, snapped his fingers at staff, and spent 20 minutes bragging about how women were too emotional to run companies. At one point, the waitress accidentally spilled water near his sleeve, and this man looked her dead in the eye and said, maybe if pretty girls actually had brains, this wouldn't happen. She looked humiliated. I remember feeling sick to my stomach, but when we got home, my mom grabbed my arm and whispered, do you understand how lucky you are? Lucky? The guy talked about women like they were disposable accessories, but my parents didn't care. All they saw was his money. Over the next few months, they pushed harder and harder. My mom started planning imaginary weddings before I even agreed to date him seriously. My dad kept saying things like, you'd never have to work again. Meanwhile, Daniel kept showing me exactly who he was. He mocked women's appearances constantly. He told me wives should stay attractive and stay quiet. Once during dinner with his friends, he laughed about an ex-girlfriend crying after he cheated on her. She got emotional like they always do. He said while everyone laughed. I wanted to leave right there, but my parents kept pressuring me. Then came the final straw. One night, Daniel invited me to his penthouse in Chicago for a party. My parents practically forced me to go because they thought he was about to propose. At the party, Daniel got drunk and started flirting with another woman right in front of me. Not casually, openly. His hand was on her waist while I stood 3 feet away. I felt humiliated. When I confronted him privately, he smirked and said something I'll never forget. Relax. Men like me don't marry for love. We marry for presentation. Presentation. Like I was some decorative object. I left the party immediately and booked the first flight home. But somehow, my parents were angry at me. My dad yelled that I was throwing away the opportunity of a lifetime. My mom cried about how embarrassed she was going to be when people found out the engagement wasn't happening. That's when I realized something painful. They cared more about his bank account than their own daughter. So I packed my things that same night. I moved in with my best friend in Seattle, got a marketing job, and cut contact with all of them for almost a year. And here's the craziest part. 6 months later, Daniel's company ended up in the news after multiple women accused him of harassment and abusive behavior toward employees. His reputation collapsed overnight. Suddenly, my parents started calling me again, not to apologize, to ask if I knew whether he still had money. My mom keeps calling me ungrateful, but I'm the one holding our family together. I'm 17, a senior in high school, and honestly, I feel more like an exhausted parent than a teenager. From the outside, my family probably looks normal. We live in a small suburb outside Chicago. My dad works construction when he actually decides to show up, and my mom works double shifts at a diner. People at school think I'm mature for my age. They don't realize that usually means a kid who had no choice. Every morning I wake up at 5:30 a.m., not because I want to be productive or aesthetic or whatever girls on TikTok call it. I wake up because my little brothers need breakfast before school. One is 8, the other is 5. If I don't make food, they'll eat cereal with water because we constantly run out of milk before payday. Then I go to school pretending everything's fine. I smile. I turn in assignments. I joke around with friends. Meanwhile, I'm checking my phone every hour because my mom texts me things like, can you send me $20? Your dad's mad again. Don't forget to pick up your brothers. I got a part-time job at a grocery store last year because we were behind on rent. At first, I thought it would just help with little things, but now almost every paycheck disappears into groceries, gas, or keeping the electricity on. And the worst part, nobody even says thank you anymore. Last week really broke me. I had been saving money for months because my class is going on a senior trip to California after graduation. I've literally never left Illinois before. All my friends were planning matching outfits and beach pictures and stupid little souvenirs. For once, I wanted to feel like a normal teenage girl. I had almost enough saved. Then my dad came home angry because apparently his truck needed repairs. He started yelling about how nobody helps him and how he's carrying this family alone, which is honestly insane considering half the time he's either drinking or sleeping. My mom looked at me and said, can you help just this once? Just this once. That phrase is ruining my life. I gave them the money, almost $700. The next day at school, everyone was talking about room assignments for the trip, and I had to pretend I just didn't want to go. I cried in the bathroom during lunch because I realized nobody in my family ever asks what I give up. They only notice what I don't do. And before anyone says just move out at 18, I wish it was that easy. If I leave, who takes care of my brothers? Who makes sure they eat? Who helps with homework? My mom already depends on me for everything emotionally too. Sometimes she vents to me about bills, marriage problems, even stuff I really don't think a teenage girl should hear. I feel trapped between being someone's daughter and being everyone's backup parent. The craziest part is that I still love them. I know my mom is tired. I know life is expensive. I know my dad probably has his own issues, but I'm tired too. And nobody seems to care because I'm the responsible one. Sometimes I sit in my car after work and just stare at the steering wheel because going home feels heavier every day. I don't even know what advice I'm asking for anymore. I just wanted at least one person to hear me. My mom keeps.
Are you just regular friends?
When people ask who the most entitled person in my family was, I don't even hesitate. My older brother, Tyler, acted like the entire world existed to make his life easier. And somehow, my parents treated him like he was some misunderstood genius instead of a walking disaster. Growing up, Tyler never had consequences. If I forgot to feed the dog, I'd lose my phone for a week. If Tyler punched a hole through the wall because he lost a Fortnite match, my mom would say, he's just stressed. That was the pattern. By senior year, Tyler basically ran the house. He'd scream from his bedroom like he was a king calling servants. Bring me food. Why isn't my laundry done? Who touched my PlayStation controller? And my parents would actually do it. Meanwhile, I was working weekends at a grocery store because my parents said I needed to learn responsibility. Tyler was 19, unemployed, sleeping till noon, and spending hundreds of dollars on sneakers he saw on Instagram. One month he bought 3 pairs in the same week while my mom quietly cried over the electric bill at the kitchen table. But Tyler always had an excuse. It's called investing. Limited drops go up in value. You guys just don't understand business. The crazy part, he actually believed he was smarter than everyone else. Then he started dragging other people into his mess. He'd borrow money from friends and never pay them back. He convinced one kid to help him flip electronics online, then disappeared with the money. At school, he acted untouchable because he was loud, confident, and weirdly good at making people feel small. But the moment everything finally exploded happened during Thanksgiving. My parents hosted dinner for the whole family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody packed into the house. My mom spent 2 straight days cooking. Tyler showed up 2 hours late wearing sunglasses indoors like some celebrity. Then he started criticizing everything. Turkey's dry. Why didn't anyone save him the good seat? Why was the Wi-Fi slow? Everyone was uncomfortable, but nobody said anything. Then my little cousin Emma accidentally knocked over Tyler's drink. She was 8. Tyler completely lost it. He stood up and started screaming at her so loudly the entire room went silent. Emma burst into tears immediately. My aunt grabbed her and told Tyler to calm down, but he kept going, saying Emma was stupid and ruined his jeans. And then he did something that changed everything. He looked at my mom and said, "Why are you all acting like this is my fault? Just buy me new ones." My dad just stared at him. For the first time in my life, I saw my father look genuinely embarrassed of his own son. The room was dead quiet. Then my grandfather slowly put his fork down and said, "Boy, you've been spoiled so long you think kindness is weakness." Nobody moved. Tyler laughed at first, like it was all a joke, until my dad stood up and said, "Give me your keys." Tyler blinked. "What?" "Your car, your credit card, your apartment deposit, all of it, done." See, Tyler thought he was self-made because he drove a nice car and wore expensive clothes. What he forgot was my parents paid for literally all of it. Suddenly, his confidence disappeared. He started yelling, then begging, then blaming everyone else like always. But this time, nobody defended him. Not my mom, not even himself, honestly. 3 weeks later, Tyler got a job stocking shelves at a sporting goods store. And the funniest part, one night he came home furious because his manager told him he couldn't take an extra break. He looked at my dad and said, completely serious, "Can you believe this guy thinks he can tell me what to do?" My dad didn't even look up from the TV. He just said, "Welcome to Earth, Tyler." My parents lied to me for 8 years, and I pretended not to know. I was 17 when I realized my parents had been lying to me for almost my entire life. The weird part, I never told them I knew. It started with something stupid. I was looking for batteries in the hall closet before a school camping trip when I found this old metal lockbox shoved behind a stack of towels. It wasn't locked. Inside were papers, hospital bracelets, and a folded birth certificate. Not mine. The name at the top said Emily Carter. My name is Madison Reed. At first I thought maybe it belonged to a cousin or something, but then I saw the birth date. Mine. Same hospital, same day, same time. I remember just sitting on the floor staring at it while my heart absolutely lost its mind. Then I heard my mom downstairs yelling, "Maddie, did you pack yet?" And I shoved everything back exactly how I found it. That night at dinner, I kept watching my parents. My dad laughing at some football game. My mom complaining about gas prices. Totally normal. Meanwhile, my brain was screaming. I didn't sleep at all that night. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing things I'd ignored before. My baby photos barely existed before age 3. My mom always got weird when people said I didn't look like either of them. My dad once accidentally said, "When we got you," before awkwardly correcting himself. And the biggest thing, every year on my birthday, my mom cried. Not happy tears either. Guilty tears. I should have confronted them right away, but honestly, I was scared. Because if they lied about this, what else was fake? So instead, I stayed quiet, and I started digging. One night, I searched the hospital listed on the birth certificate. After like 2 hours of scrolling old forums and articles, I found it. A news article from 2008. A nurse had been investigated for accidentally switching 2 newborn girls in the maternity ward. My stomach dropped. The article said the families were informed months later after DNA testing. One family agreed to switch the babies back. The other didn't. I just sat there staring at my laptop thinking, oh my god. My parents knew. They had always known. I started shaking so hard I could barely breathe because suddenly everything made sense. Why my mom held on to me too tightly sometimes. Why my dad acted terrified whenever I talked about moving out for college. Why they looked at me like they were afraid I could disappear. I wasn't biologically theirs, but they raised me anyway. And somehow that hurt worse. For 2 whole months, I acted normal while secretly falling apart. I'd sit at dinner smiling while wondering where my biological parents were. Did they think about me? Did they regret giving me up? Did I have siblings? Then Thanksgiving happened. My entire family came over. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody packed into our house screaming over football and burnt rolls. And my grandma accidentally exposed everything. She looked right at me and said, "You've got your real mother's eyes." The room went silent, like instantly silent. My mom dropped a serving spoon. My dad froze. And everybody looked horrified. I remember my little cousin whispering, "Wait, she doesn't know?" That was the moment I could have exploded. I could have screamed. I could have demanded answers. Instead, I took a sip of soda and said, "Of course I know." My parents looked like they were going to faint. Then I stood up and calmly said, "You guys have been lying to me for years. I just wanted to see how long you'd keep doing it." And I walked upstairs. No yelling, no crying, just silence. About 20 minutes later, my mom knocked on my bedroom door already sobbing. My dad looked completely broken. And for the first time in my life, they finally told me the truth. The hospital had switched me with another baby by mistake. By the time DNA confirmed it months later, both families were already attached. My biological parents wanted me back immediately, but my parents fought to keep me. Not legally, emotionally. According to my mom, they begged the other family to let them stay involved in my life somehow. The other family refused. So my parents made a choice. They kept raising me and decided never to tell me because they were terrified I'd stop loving them. And honestly, that's the part that destroyed me, not the lie. The fear behind it. A week later, my biological mother contacted me for the first time ever. You want to know the craziest part? She lived 20 minutes away my entire life. My parents lied to me for 8